Very good. Okay, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
And Parsha Ki Tavo. So we're starting with today. Page 1068. Dov, thank you for setting it up for us. Rabbi, do you want to start off for us?
Okay. ויהיה כי תבוא אל הארץ אשר השם אלוקיך נותן לך נחלה וירשת וישבת בה ולקחת מראשית כל פרי האדמה אשר תביא מארצך אשר השם אלוקיך נותן לך ושמת בתנא והלכת אל המקום אשר יבחר השם אלוקיך לשכן שמו שם.
Beautiful. Okay, in English, Sharon, want to take it for us?
It will be when you enter the land that Hashem your God gives you as an inheritance, and you possess it and dwell in it, that you shall take of the first of every fruit of the ground that you bring in from your land that Hashem your God gives you, and you shall put it in a basket and go to the place that Hashem your God will choose to make his name rest there.
Continue on.
You shall come to whomever will be the Kohen in those days, and you shall say to him, I declare today to Hashem your God that I have come to the land that Hashem swore to our forefathers to give us. The Kohen shall take the basket from your hand and lay it before the altar of Hashem your God. More?
Yeah.
Then you shall cast out and say before Hashem your God, an Aramean tried to destroy my forefather. He descended to Egypt and sojourned there for few in number, and there he became a nation, great, strong, and numerous. The Egyptians mistreated us and afflicted us, and placed hard work upon us. Then we cried out to Hashem, the God of our forefathers, and Hashem heard our voice and saw our affliction, our travail, and our oppression. Hashem took us out of Egypt with a strong hand and with an outstretched arm, with great awesomeness, and with signs and with wonders. He brought us to this place, and he gave us this land, a land flowing with milk and honey. And now, behold, I have brought the first fruit of the ground that you have given me, O Hashem, and you shall lay it before Hashem your God, and you shall prostrate yourself before Hashem your God.
One more.
You shall rejoice with all the goodness that Hashem your God has given you, and your household, you and the Levite and the proselyte who is in your midst.
Beautiful. So this is called the Bikurim. This is called the taking of the first fruits, Meireshit kol pri ha'adama, and it's that produce through which the land of Israel is praised, those Sheva Minim. Now, you're not going to take it when it first starts to bud because it's not yet matured. It's not yet a proper gift to bring. Right? However, how do you know, excuse me, which is the first? So what you do is when it first blossoms, you tie around it a string, something that attaches it, and that way, even when it's all filled now with all these different, a field is full, the tree is full, you know which are the first ones, and you bring that to the Beis Hamikdash. You bring it to the Kohen. The Kohen will take the basket and put it down. Now let's look in Hebrew. From Pasuk Hey. V'anita v'amarta v'nei Hashem Elokecha, Arami oved avi. My father, an Aramean, tried to destroy us. V'yer Mitzrayim went down to Egypt. V'yer Hashem L'sei ma'at. And we dwelled there, few in number. And we were there a goy gadol atzum v'rav. V'yarei otana Mitzrayim v'yanunu. V'yinu aleinu avodah kasha. V'nitzak el Hashem Elokei Avoteinu. And we called out to Hashem, and Hashem heard our voice. Does this sound familiar?
I want to sell my chametz.
The Haggadah.
Yeah.
Don't want to sell his chametz. This is what we say in the Haggadah. Now, isn't that strange? You'd think the Haggadah, which is telling us about the Exodus from Egypt, and if we're going to zoom in onto certain psukim, certain verses, and dissect each and every word, we would think, where are we going to zoom into? The book of Shemot, the book of Exodus, the book of our leaving Egypt. But we don't. That's not what we zoom into. We zoom into these psukim, these verses, in Devarim, talking about bringing the first fruits and this whole proclamation, this historical proclamation that we make when we bring the first fruits. So why is this what we're zooming in on, as opposed to Yetziat Mitzrayim, Exodus? Yafi.
So I think what Moshe is trying to do is to remind Bnei Israel that the land is not theirs. They were not born there. They were not. They're not like. It's not like the other nation that the land is their mother and they will die for it. They came. They are gerim on this land, and he reminds them that this land is not theirs, and that's why it's the land of God, and that's why the first fruit will first go to him.
Beautiful.
And
Beautiful. So in general, the mitzvah of Bikurim is letting us know that the land and everything that we have is a gift, and to appreciate it as such, and to treat it as such. 100%. I'm with you on that. Right? Just an interesting thing, I thought as you were saying that, Yafi, we say in the Aleinu, Shelo asanu k'goyei ha'aratzot. You've not made us like the nations of the lands. What does that mean? Right? The nations of the lands means other nations, right? Their whole identity is their land. Right? Right? Without their land, it defines them. Right? Whereas we went thousands of years without our land. That's not what defines us. That's not what makes us into a people. Right? That is the place where we could reach a heightened level, and we've returned there, etc., etc., etc. But that does not define us. But that, excellent, Yafi, but that is more about this idea of Bikurim in general. But why do we focus on this Parsha, the Bikurim Parsha, when it comes to the Haggadah, when we are zooming in on... Let's let Cheryl have a chance.
Thank you. This could be wrong, but I mean the whole purpose of the Exodus is to bring us to our land. And and look at all the things that everyone was against going to that land anyway. But when we do finally get there, it's the Bikurim. So this is telling us that when we get to our land, Egypt is in our land, we're being taken out to go to our land, then we have to thank Hashem for this land.
Okay. So the Exodus of Shemot, of the book of Exodus, is somewhat unfinished business. Right? The plagues, great. That got us out of Egypt. But, as we've mentioned a number of times, we leave Egypt and we start to eat matzah. Crunch. Matzah. Right? Now, right, God could have arranged it that we left 18 minutes later. It would have been 210 years. Let it be 210 years and 18 minutes, and let us eat a nice, sweet French croissant instead of eating matzah. Right? He could have arranged it 18 minutes later. Or we could have had danishes, croissants, you name it. Right? But Hashem wanted us to leave Egypt eating the matzah, remembering where we were. And that is the lechem oni, the bread of affliction. That is the bread of deliverance. That's all contained in there. We need to leave there and right away be involved in mitzvot. It's not like, oh, we're free, now we can do whatever we want. No. We are now going to become the servants of Hashem. So Mitzrayim, the Exodus, was in order to get us to Har Sinai and receive the Torah. And that's what defines us, not the land. But the Torah could only be fully fulfilled, and many of the mitzvot of the Torah only apply in the land of Israel. Therefore, until we've reached this point, so if we are at the Pesach Seder, and we have a Haggadah, which is the mitzvah of telling the story, so we don't want to just speak about the oppression and the slavery, and even the Exodus. We want to focus on the end of the story, the culmination, the zenith that we reached. And that was, we have now come. Hashem, verse 8, took us out of Egypt, and verse 9, He brought us to this place. He gave us this land, a land flowing with milk and honey. Okay? So therefore, on the Pesach Seder, we focus on the end, on the fulfillment, on the finished business, on the culmination. That yes, all of that was to bring us into this land where we can fully live and maintain and fulfill the laws of this Torah. And now, verse 10, behold, I have brought the first fruit of the ground that you have given me, O Hashem. You shall lay before Hashem your God, and you shall prostrate yourself before Hashem your God. Now, why wasn't it good enough to stop at verse 9? That's the end of the story. And He brought us to this place, and He gave us this land, a land flowing with milk and honey. So I understand at the Bikurim, and therefore I'm giving you these fruits. All right? And that might also contain another crucial point of our speaking about this at the Pesach Seder. Yes, Dov?
Well, I was just going to say that most people are grateful they got a produce, but here they got to go schlep it all the way to Jerusalem. Hashem's saying, oh, this is very special. I want you to know how special you are. Bring it.
Okay. Nice. Nice. Yafi.
I think we have to remember also that this is another generation that is entering Israel, Eretz Canaan. And what Moshe is, I think, really concerned about is that when they will come, they will conquer the land, and they will sit on the land, they will forget everything, and they will not go in the right way. So he's trying to embed it in their memory what happened with Yetziat Mitzrayim.
Yeah, good.
And that we have to be appreciative for everything.
Good. So
that was
Bikurim really institutionalizes this constant memory of where we were and what we have gotten to, right? If we were to say the Seder night, the Pesach, the Leil Seder, the night of the Seder, Pesach night, what is the main mitzvah of that Seder night? So we have the matzah, we have the maror, we have the Haggadah, we have the 4 cups of wine. But what is that main overarching theme of that night? Sipur Yetziat Mitzrayim. But what right, so that's the Haggadah, that's the Sipur Yetziat Mitzrayim. And what is that meant to make us feel?
Grateful. I am
grateful.
God.
Right.
To God.
Okay, this emunah in God, this faith in God, and this appreciation for all that Hashem has done for us. So another aspect is the Seder zeroes in not on those psukim from Shemos, right, from the Exodus, but it zeroes in on to the Bikurim, because this is all about Hakarat Hatov. This is all about recognizing the good that we've gotten and appreciating that good. Right? We spoke a little bit this past Shabbos. Is this past Shabbos? I forgot, right? Maybe it's a couple Shabbases ago. we spoke about how so often we focus on negative aspects and don't allow ourselves to appreciate all of the good. Because every situation has its positive and has its negative. And we decide, is my focus on the negative and I'm miserable? Is my focus on the positive and I am exuberant and I'm happy and I'm blessed? The Gemara tells a funny story. I forget exactly who it was. Whose wife, right, if he would ask for meal X, she would make meal Y. If he'd ask for meal Y, she would make meal X. Whatever he asked for, she would always make the opposite. That was the situation at home. And at a certain point, things got better, right? If he asked for that, she made that. She asked for this, she made this. So he remarked to his son, "Oh, your mother is really is amazing now." So the son said, "Dad, let me tell you a secret. Right? You always ask me to tell, to relate to her, what it is that you want that night, right? So I just started swapping it. Whatever you wanted, I asked for the opposite. So she made the opposite, and that way, that way she's making what you want, right? So he said to his son, he said, you're wiser than I, right? But it's not a good thing that you're doing. I don't want you to become trained to speaking non-truths. And basically you're saying to your mother, Dad wants X when he really asks for Y. So you shouldn't do this. And then he said, for all that she does for me, I'm filled with appreciation. And if the meals are the opposite of what I always ask for, it's a meal. It's still a meal, right? For all that she does, right? And that's what we have over here. V'samachta b'chol hatov. You shall rejoice with all of the good asher natan lecha Hashem Elokecha, that God has given, Hashem your God has given to you, uleveitecha, and to your household, ata v'halevi, you, and the Levi, v'ager, and the convert, asher b'kirbecha, who are there in your midst. Okay? So the key here is v'samachta b'chol hatov. Rejoice with all of that goodness. So the main idea of the Pesach Seder, and as you said, the Sipur, the telling of the story of Yetziat Mitzrayim, is for us to fully appreciate the brachot, the blessings that we as a nation have, and from there to fully appreciate the brachot that we as individuals have. And that's always the case. The Ramban speaks famously that from the great miracles we need to appreciate the small miracles that we see each day in our life. And from the big brachot, we need to see and focus on the little brachot. Right? We create our reality. We create the reality that is around us by that which we choose to focus on. And you can have two people living in the same exact situation. One is miserable, the other one is ecstatic. It all depends, where do we train our focus? And the Pasuk tells us, V'samachta b'chol hatov. Rejoice with all of the good that Hashem, your God, has given you. And then it mentions, why is it mentioning the Levite and the proselyte? Why are we mentioning them?
Not have his own place.
Good. The tribe of Levi did not receive a portion in the land. Right? So there were only 11 tribes that received? Or were there 12 tribes that received? There were 12. But without Levi, what happens? So whenever we take out Levi, what happens? Yosef gets split up into Menashe and Ephraim. There's always going to be 12. If we're counting Levi, Then we're counting Yosef as 1. We're not counting Levi, we're counting Yosef as 2, Menashe and Ephraim. So Levi did not have their own portion. All right? The tribe of Levi includes the Leviim and the Kohanim. And that's why we have to make sure that we give the Kohanim what's due to them. That's the Truma. We give the Leviim what's due to them. That's the Maser Rishon. And on certain years we give to the Ani and we give to the poor their Maser Ani. Meaning that your brachot, we understand that the brachot we have are meant to be shared with those who have less than us. Right? And I say often, the Beatles said, money can't buy me love, right? And money doesn't give us happiness. Actually, money does give us happiness. But not when we have money. It's when we give money. When we give to others, that is what truly makes a person happy. That is when a person really feels that they are alive. And the reason for that is very simple. We are created b'tselem Elokim, in the image of God. Of course, God has no physicality, but there are likenesses of us to God. God is the epitome of a notain, of a giver, because God needs nothing. When we are notain, when we give, then we are touching that chelek Elokam imal, that part of God in us, and we feel that, and we become uplifted. We become greater than just ourselves. So therefore, the blessings that you have has got to be Atah, V'Halevi, and the Levite, and the Ger, and the convert, Asher B'Kirbecha, that is in your midst, right? Share your brachot with others, and be happy. Focus on your brachot.
I see that it works out very good here. When you go to Judas, usually it's the man going to Judas. I don't know if the women are they obligated to do this too?
Do they have to give? Yeah, if it's theirs, they'll bring it.
Bikurim?
I believe so.
Really? Anyway, so just the whole experience, to give it to the Kohen in Yerushalayim opens up your heart to give even more. Because you feel like how blessed you are, it opens your heart up.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
amazing. So
Yeah.
you will rejoice.
Yeah, so this is our whole Pesach Seder. This is what we zero in on over here, this act of giving the Bikurim, which is the culmination, which is the fulfillment of that whole Exodus story that we've gotten here, and then we show our appreciation. Now, famously, there's a very beautiful idea here. The second pasuk said, "V'lakachta me reshit kol pri hadama." You'll take from the first of the pri hadama, of the fruit of the land, right? That you'll bring from your land that God has given you, place it in the basket, and you'll go to that place. Where did we discuss this? I spoke about this recently. Mm-hmm. The Gemara says something very interesting. The wealthy people would bring it in baskets of gold and silver.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Where did I discuss this? Is it on Shabbos?
It must have been.
But I remember hearing this, but I'm hearing so many things from the podcast that...
Yeah. So,
We had this, poor people brought it in straws.
in
baskets.
in straws, and rich people in gold and
In
silver,
baskets
and they
with
give the
cash,
guilt.
yeah, where did I talk about this? When was that?
Shabbos?
Do you remember that?
And the straws were like a part of the...
Right.
They
So
were-
the rich people give in gold and silver, and then they take back their gold and silver baskets. Whereas the poor people bring it in a straw basket,
Leave it.
right? And leaves it there. So the Gemara says, you see, poverty chases the poor, right? These poor people, all they can afford is the straw basket, and they don't even get to take that with them, right? They surrender that, right? But the rich people who bring the gold and silver, they get to take it home again, right? So why is that? Why is that the poor people, right, give the baskets and the rich people don't? We gave a couple explanations. What did we say?
The explanation, one of the explanation I remember that the basket, woven basket, is like together with Bikurim, and it's like it's an entire package.
Beautiful, right, right. So one explanation before we come to that, one explanation is we want to save the poor people embarrassment, meaning their first fruits are not all that great stuff. So what they're bringing is kind of, lower quality stuff. That's what's growing in their impoverished lands, which don't have all the proper irrigation and fertilization and all that goes into it. So the wealthy people, if they empty out what's in their basket, right, it's an honor to them, right? If we would have the poor people empty it out, it would be somewhat embarrassing for them. So in order to save them embarrassment, we say, you know what, we're not going to empty it out, right? Let it stay in the basket, right? But the explanation that I like even more,
It's
right?
a woven basket together.
Yes. In other words, a wealthy person, right? See, goes on to Amazon, right? And he finds, right? Using Amazon Prime, right? And he's already got, he or she has money in the account over there. Doesn't even think about it. Just right, pushes in, right? And the next day, it's delivered there, right? So how much effort, how much neshama went into that? Virtually nothing, right? Virtually nothing. The poor person, right? He's not buying it. He can't even buy the basket. What does he do? He takes off some leaves from the palm tree, and he lovingly weaves and folds and bends and creates this basket within which he's going to bring his bikurim, his first fruits. So for him, that basket itself becomes nit kadesh. That becomes holy. That becomes part of his offering. The wealthy person is putting his offering inside his gold and silver. Great. So we empty it out and his offering is given. The poor person, the basket itself became the part and parcel of the offering. So the basket and its contents are all accepted by the Beis HaMikdash. When we're discussing different korbanot, different sacrifices were brought, there's a concept of a korban oleh v'yored. It's a fluctuating level of sacrifice that a person will bring based on their financial capabilities. And there's an animal, which is the highest, the most expensive. Person can't afford that, then there are birds, fowl that are brought. Person can't afford that, then there is kemach, the mincha. There's a flour offering, F-L-O-U-R, flour offering. The pasuk uses only by that third one, only by the mincha, the flour offering, the meal offering, it uses the word nefesh, the soul. Right? Because that poor person who can't afford that which he gives or she gives, they give with their soul, with their nefesh, with their neshama. That's what goes into it. So over here, right, as always, our hakaras hatov, our appreciation, right, our hoda'ah, is the level of that hoda'ah is based on, is it perfunctory or is it heartfelt? And the greater the heartfelt aspect of it is, that is, of course, the greater the level, to the point that even the basket can have this kedusha, can have the holiness of these bikurim.
And even because of the effort of the poor person put into it, they themselves are the offering as well.
Okay, I'm not sure we see that over here, but yeah. Now, yes.
So, given that someone's an agricultural person and not a city dweller, the way you said you gave the example, I know you were kind of more illustrating the lack of effort, but to go on Amazon, given that they have their own fields, aren't they supposed to do their own first fruits? They can't necessarily.
They went to Amazon not for the first fruits, for the basket.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood.
Just for the basket. For the gold or silver basket, right?
So they're all giving their own first fruits, given
It's
that
got to
possible.
be their own first
Right,
fruits
right,
of
okay.
land which they own.
Right.
Yeah, it has to
Now,
be.
if you're a
Right.
city dweller and not a farmer, then you can buy, correct? A first fruit.
No, then you don't have this mitzvah.
Even in the
You
land.
don't have land.
If you don't have land,
You don't have land.
If you're still
You
a
don't
city
have-
dweller, you might have a parcel where your
Farm.
house is and be a tanner or a.
if there are first fruits of land that you own, then you bring it.
Okay.
If not, then you don't bring.
Could it be in a pot?
And a pot meaning what?
Like grown in like a vessel if you don't have land, let's say.
Um,
That's
um,
a
um,
good
That's
question, Cheryl.
tricky.
yeah.
But they
I think it'll
already
need to be
know.
connected to the ground in order to have a Torah obligation on it. Yeah, yeah.
But at the beginning, they all had land. That's why we have the Yovel, that if you,
You're
that
making-
it
you're
will
making an
always
excellent point,
come
Dahlia,
back
right?
to the people and you never
Yeah, the
lose
land was
that God gave
distributed.
you.
Everyone had a parcel of the land, and even if you would sell that land, if that was your achuzah, your ancestral land,
Yeah.
then comes Yovel, the Jubilee year, every 50th year, it comes back to you. All right? So actually, when you sell land, you only be selling it, the price will be based upon how many years and until Yovel. You're basically selling the produce until Yovel when the land itself returns to you.
So are you supposed to, in those sort of lease, so-called sale leases, quote unquote, put in a condition that also you still get a little entitlement to first fruits every year?
I don't know if a person could, I don't know of any requirement to make such a stipulation.
עם כל שנה, אותו בן אדם שם, כל
Yeah.
שנה, יכול לקחת מהדבר הזאת.
Yeah, there really is this,
I don't think so.
when a person is growing things from the land, that's what gives you a real connection to it. So the mitzvah bikurim is only if you have your own land, right? As is, maaser, right? All the tithes, right? Meaning, if you buy things that have not been tithed, then you must tithe it, right? But whereas by maaser, we parlay that to giving 1/10 of our income towards tzedakah, right? By bikurim, we don't have such an extension, right? Now, if we'll go back, famous Rashi that leaves out something. If we go back to page, I'm going to assume it's page 2. That was a good guess. Page 2. Towards the beginning. Bit Reshit, bara Elokim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. Bit Reshit, in the beginning of God's creation of the heavens and earth, right? It's not in the beginning God created heaven and earth, because that was not the first thing he created. The first thing was Yihi Or, let there be light. That's why Rashi and others explain, not in the beginning God created heavens and earth, but in the beginning of God's creation of heavens and earth, this is where we're jumping in. And the land was tohu vavohu, v'choshech al panei tehom, right? The earth was astonishingly empty, darkness, and the divine presence upon the surface of the waters, right? So there was these things in somewhat existence, and God said, let there be light. Okay. Bit Reshit. So Rashi goes through different explanations, and he brings a medrash. He says, our sages taught Bit Reshit because of the Torah that is referred to as Reshit. It's called Reshit Darko. And because of Israel, that is called Reshit. Reshit Tevuata, the first of the produce. Okay? So the Torah is saying, Be Reshit. Because of Reshit, Bara Elokim. That's why God created the world. God created the world because of Reshit. What is Reshit? So Rashi brings from the Medrash Tanchuma two of the things that are called Reshit. One of them is Israel, and the other one of them is the Torah. The other one is Israel. Now that seems to be pretty haughty. Oh, God created the world because of us. Because of the Torah, because of the nation of Israel. That's why God created the world. But I think if we break it down a little further, we could understand and appreciate what's being said here. And then we'll come to what the part of the Medrash that Rashi left out. When we say Torah, what does Torah mean? Teachings, instructions. Meaning Torah is God's instructions for this world, for life. Every religion needs to answer the question, what does God want of us? And how do you know that? What does God want? And how do you know that? So every religion needs to have its revelation narrative. Right? We're here. A religion is claiming there's a God there, wherever there might be. So how do we bridge that gap? How do we know what it is that he wants from us? But clearly, we need to know if we're believing in a God. Now, some might say, well, listen, God created the world on a whim, whatever it is, and now he's off doing other things. Judaism says absolutely not. He might be doing other things. We have no concept of what God is. But our understanding is that God is involved and God cares. And we say those, by Judaism, we have Shabbat and we have holidays. Shabbat is God as the creator. The seventh day we stop creating in order to live in a concrete manner our belief in God as a creator. So we stop doing creative activities on the seventh day. And the holidays are all about God's involvement in this world. So we say God is involved, God cares about this world. If that's the case, then the purpose of creation must be that there are acts that are going on in this world in accordance with God's will. And that is, so there need to be free-willed beings who are choosing to act according to the instructions that we have. Therefore, the world was created be-reshit, because of reshit. According to the Medrash, what's reshit? One thing reshit is the Torah. Meaning, there needs to be instructions, guidelines, the manual as how we are meant to live in this world. And that is the purpose of God creating this world. Otherwise, why? According to our understanding, why? So that is that the world was created for Reshit. Reshit meaning Torah. As the pasuk says, Reshit Darko. The Torah is referred to as Reshit Darko. Where does Yisrael fit into this?
What is Darko, though?
His way, his path. Israel is called Reshit. Reshit Tevuata, the first of the produce. So how does that fit in, that the world was created for Torah, and for Yisrael. So very important to keep in mind, who was born Yisrael? No one was born Yisrael. He became Yisrael. Meaning, there was, according to Ramchal, there was a period of time in history that he refers to as the period of the roots. And at that time, anyone who would have accepted God, connected to God, built a relationship with this God, they would become this nation of Israel. Abraham started, Yitzchak continued, Yaakov with his 12 sons, he became Yisrael. He was given the name Yisrael. No one else was connecting. No one else was plugging in. Had other nations at that time accepted, other families, other peoples accepted God, then there would have been the United States of Israel. There would have been all these different families that together would have become this nation or nations of Israel. But there weren't. There was Abraham. You know, the question is, why did God choose the Jewish people? It's because the Jewish people chose God. At that time in period, and that time of history, it was Abraham and his progeny that chose and connected to God. Once we went past, the Ramchal says, we went past that period of the roots, now we're in the period of the branches. So if a person wants to connect to those roots, how do they connect? The only way, he says, is through a graft, that a branch be removed from its tree and be fused together with the Avraham tree. And that's what conversion is. Conversion is a grafting onto that tree of Avraham. But when we say the world was created for Yisrael, what does Yisrael really mean at its essence? It means the people who would connect to God. So there's a creation of the world. There needs to be Torah. There needs to be instructions. There needs to be that link between the physical world and that spiritual realm of this God, where we know what his intentions, what his wants are. And then there needs to be those who follow it, who sign up, who ascribe to that. So it's not this racist statement, oh, the world was created for the Jews. No. It's the world was created as a venue where we would be able to access the will of God, and there will be those who would follow the will of God, right? And teach that. Spread that. Teach that to the world. So that's the part of the Medrash that Rashi brings. But the Medrash continues and says it was created for the Torah, that's called Reshit. It was created for Yisrael, who are called Reshit. And it was created for 1068, the Bikurim, which are called Reshit. As we had the second pasuk, V'lakachta me Reshit kol pri adama. You will take from the Reshit, from the first of all the fruits of the ground that will be brought from your land. So I understand overall the world being created for this idea of being able to access the will of God and live according to the will of God, and those who will sign up to the will of God. But why are we focusing on one particular mitzvah? Why, of all the 613 mitzvot, excuse me, would we say that the world was created because of Reshit, because of Bikurim? Why specifically about this? And what is the idea of this Reshit? Why is it that it's because of Reshit, and Torah is called Reshit, and Yisrael is called Reshit, and Bikurim are called Reshit, and eventually I think Maser is called Reshit, and Truma is called Reshit. Why these specific mitzvot, and what is at the root, what is at the core of Reshit? And with that, we'll also understand a little bit about, there's another Reshit that's coming up soon. What Reshit is that? Rosh Hashanah. Right? So what is this whole idea of this Reshit that manifests itself very strongly in Bikurim, to the point that Bereshit, the world was created because of Bikurim. Janet.
So you were saying that the growing of things, as opposed to man, this is something you've referenced fairly often, would become commonplace once in the land. And this brings us back to that God did it, and it's a gift from God, and we're giving back this gift to God, and more specifically, that hitting us more emphatically, in fact, the world this was the Reshit part of it.
Nice.
So that every time that people sent their Bikurim, they connected or renewed that concept, and it was reinforced for them that yes, they toiled, they grew, but the seed, the sprout, the rain, all that is Hashem.
Nice. Sure.
This is really elementary, I'm sorry, but so Reshit means
Beginning.
first.
Rosh is the head, the beginning.
And not Maser?
Maaser literally means Me'eser, from 10. Meaning you give 1/10 of the tithe that goes to the Levite.
Truma.
Right? And Truma is that which is Merim, that which we lift up from the produce, and that becomes sanctified, and that goes to the Kohen. Whereas that which goes to the Kohen, the Truma, is sanctified. A non-Kohen is not allowed to eat it. You get invited to a Kohen's house for a meal, right? They can only feed, and you're a non-Kohen, they can only feed you regular food. You get invited to a Levite's house, there you could eat the Maser. That comes separated. It doesn't become a different entity. It doesn't become sanctified. Yeah, Dov?
Hashem is number one first. And Hashem is in creating, decides what is first.
Okay. Yeah.
When is going to be the next Jubilee?
I don't think we know. I think we've lost track of the Yovel. Right? It's the land in Israel that goes back to its owners.
So, but we're still celebrating the 7 years.
We do the Shemitah, right? The Shemitah sabbatical year. I don't think we have the calculation of the Yovel.
Why? We know that it's the 50, so if we know 7, we should know 50.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
But that's why they have all kind of laws in Israel that connect it to the bank as authority from the government and stuff like this, because rabbinical law always allow you in the way of money or land or whatever. And also the land in Israel is never sold to anybody. Like, if I have a place in Israel, it's not mine. It's really for the government holding it in trust or whatever. There is nothing. You're always getting it for 99 years.
Uh-huh.
Just like it used to be in Irvine. They try to act like the Jewish law.
That's how they...
But never owned the land
Okay,
in Israel.
so that's modern secular law in
So
Israel.
I don't own my house?
Yeah.
No, I didn't say your house.
Okay.
I said the
Oh, the
land.
land.
Like in Irvine, we used to few years
You
ago,
mean
we
like
didn't own the land. So, lehavdil.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so the bank system, that's actually another issue there.
No,
That
but
is-
they're still
that's
using these
after
things.
7 years, right? When the Shemitah year comes, that cancels any debts unless it's structured in a different way using what's called a heter iska. So the banks in Israel utilize that document to restructure the loan so they can collect your mortgage, whatever it might be, even after Shemitah. Otherwise, it'd be either very high rates or you walk away with a little
Same,
bit of
but if you lend to another person.
yeah. But coming back, if we say that the world was created for Reshit, and we say that means the Torah, we say that's God's instructions, and people who are going to recognize God's instructions and accept God's instructions and live or do our best to live accordingly, right? At the core, there needs to be this recognition of Reshit, of there being a beginning, of there being a creation, right? And that's something that science relatively recently came around to with this ever-expanding universe and the Big Bang and being able to pick up sounds, right, resonating in the universe from that Big Bang. They reached the point of, yes, there was a Bereshit, right? The Bara Elokim that God created, that they haven't quite come around to yet. But this idea of a Reshit that's meant to always make us realize that we always have to come back to that first point. So Bereshit is because of the Torah that's called Reshit, and Israel that will ascribe to that Torah. And it's those mitzvot that are called Reshit, meaning those mitzvot that keep bringing us back to that source. Because, like Janet said, we work, we toil in the field, and we've been putting in months and months and months of back-breaking work. And then we grew it. It's ours. My fruits. Yes and no. Yes, but no. Right? It's a gift. It's a gift from God. Everything's a gift. And we go back, we recognize that Reshit, that beginning of everything. And therefore we go back to all that got us to this point. And we bring those fruits to Hashem. And we say, thank you. Right? The Hebrew word todah, modeh, means thanks. It also means to admit. Modeh al ha'emet means I'm admitting to the truth. Right? Whenever we give thanks, what are we doing? We are admitting that which I have partially at least due to you. Right? We call it a debt of gratitude. Right? If I'm saying thanks, I'm recognizing. That's why it's hard to say thank you sometimes. Sometimes it's hard to say thank you because we don't want to admit that you are doing good things for me and that I owe you and that what I have is partially due to you. That's why it's hard to say thank you sometimes.
That's the first thing we say. We're supposed to say is Moda'ani lefanai.
Good. And that's why we are meant to be trained. The very first word that we say is Modeh. Not ani Modeh. Not I thank. But thank, comma, I. Right? Even though it's somewhat awkward. Right? Because we don't want the first word that we say to be I, me. The first word that we need to say is thank. Right? And that's what we need to try to train ourselves, right? To say thank you and to appreciate. Again, Every situation has its pluses and its minuses. And to focus on the positive and to express that. So the world was created for these mitzvot, which are called Reshit. Why? Why specifically these mitzvot? Because these are the mitzvot that bring us back to Torah, that bring us back to Yisroel, that bring us back to this purpose of the world, which is these free-willed beings walking around and not seeing God, but recognizing and appreciating God, who is Ne'elam in the Olam, who obscures himself in this world so that we are not robots like an angel, Kadosh, 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 but we choose to stand up and say Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh. I'll just end with a beautiful shot in the pasuk says, Mi ha'ish, famous pasuk, Mi ha'ish hachafetz chayim, who's the person who wants life? And right, Ohev Yamim, Liro Tov, right? Ohev Yamim, who loves days, Liro Tov, to see good. Knowing that's how we explain it, that's the question. And the answer is, Nitzor Lashon Chameira, Usvatecha Midaber Miyama. Hold back your tongue. Nitzor Lashon Chameira, from evil, right? Usvatecha, and your lips, Midaber, from speaking with deceit. That's how normally it's a question, who's the person who wants life or to see good? The answer is, guard your tongue. And that's why the Chafetz Chaim, Rabbi Yisroel Meir Kagan HaKohen, was given the name, was known as the Chafetz Chaim, because he wrote a whole compendium on the laws of speech, and he titled his work based on this pasuk, Chafetz Chaim, those who want life. But a beautiful explanation that I heard is that we put the question mark at a different point. Not Miya'ish, who's the person who wants life, right? Ohev Yam, who loves days and sees good, question mark. And the answer is, guard your tongue. Move the question mark back. And the pasuk is telling you, what is the key towards guarding your tongue from speaking bad? Mi ha'ish hachafetz chayim, question mark. Who is the person who wants life? That's the question. The answer is Ohev Yamim. Love days. How can you love how can I love my days? This goes wrong and that goes wrong. Right? I woke up this morning and my back was hurting me. Lirot Tov. See the good. You woke up in your own bed? You woke up in your bed? In your house, in your apartment, right? With family, either in your house or in this world. So we can focus on, I can't believe I woke up with a headache, or my back's hurting me. Or we can be Lirot Tov. And if we're a person who is Ohev Yamim, Lirot Tov, we love our days because we see the good, we focus on the good, then it's very easy, Nitzol Lashon Chameira, to hold back your mouth from speaking evil. I got so much good going on. Yes, certain things are not the way I would have hoped for, but look at all the good that I have. That is the Reshit. Right? When we recognize that everything has its reshit and everything is a gift and it's all coming from God, and God is giving that which we need to have and not giving that which we don't need to have. And that which we don't need to have will often be detrimental for us. So that is how we can then v'samachta b'chol hatov, to rejoice with all of the good that Hashem has given us. And for that, Bereshit, for that the world was created. We'll call it here, my friends.
Did you tell us what Rashi left out?
Yes, Bikurim,
Oh, okay.
the first fruits, and the Maaser, and the Truma. That's what Rashi left out, but we filled it in.
Thank you.